Redemption dead because of a red. There's a ruckus being caused in the Wild West, known as the Premier League. Blue on the shirt, but all they know is red. Tackles that cause blood, red. The sports they like, red. The cars they like, red. The eyes they have, I've seen Cole Palmer at Notting Hill Carnival, bro, red.
What?
There's no club quite like Chelsea that do self-sabotage in the league this campaign. With a staggering total of 10 dismissals now across the 25-26 season, it's already had an impact on Chelsea's results, but now it could stop them from qualifying for the Champions League. My question is this: what the heck is actually wrong with these individuals? Now, complete transparency on this one, lads. I did record this video before Chelsea went and absolutely battered Aston Villa. But A, Aston Villa have been terrible recently. B, if anything, it actually kind of proves my point even more. I'm actually annoyed at Chelsea because they can bring out insane performances like this. They can bring out a battering of Aston Villa. They can bring out a 1-1 draw against the league leaders, even though they're down to 10 men. All they have to do is just not be stupid for like 90 minutes of a game. So maybe take a few of the things that I say in this video with a pinch of salt about like whether they're going to finish in the Champions League spots, and maybe take it as more of a Chelsea make no fucking sense rather than a Chelsea are bad, which is actually not what I was trying to say in the video anyway. It was more me just getting frustrated on Chelsea fans' behalves about the amount of red cards they get. Hello guys. It's your boy. I apologize, right? Because I'm in unnatural habitats again. I've moved house recently. I haven't got my setup together properly over there or got internet, so I'm here. That's also why there wasn't an FTW last week. Now that the elephant has been addressed, we can go on to discuss a truly despicable headquarters and corporation right now. Chelsea Football Club are doing everything in their power to ensure that they don't do anything within their power this season. It's quite remarkable, actually, watching these guys blow themselves up at least like bi-weekly. Now, most recently, Chelsea took on Arsenal, and if you'd have told a Chelsea fan they were going to lose 2-1 to the league leaders away at the Emirates, they probably wouldn't have been happy about it, but they would have been like, fairs. All right, that's, I guess, to be expected. Chelsea currently sit 6th in the league, just a few points outside of the Champions League spots, but they've been in free fall recently, so a loss against Mikel Arteta's side probably wouldn't have been that surprising. And in this latest example of set-piece simulator, every single goal came from a dead ball here. But in actuality, they were let down by some dead ballers of their own. The irony is they also caused problems from corners and set-pieces for Arsenal, a side that have learned from the very ethos of Saddam Hussein in their tactical know-how during the course of this season. They actually managed to play Arsenal at their own game, scoring from a corner, a Hincapié own goal of their own on the stroke of half-time. But set pieces on either side of that meant that Chelsea went home with 0 points, despite creating some, decent chances in the second half and not letting Arsenal have it all their own way. There were a few opportunities there on the table, but Pedro Neto took the opportunity to be a complete degenerate. He looked in the mirror, saw a very similar winger in Gabriel Martinelli staring back at him and attacked him like a rabid dog that doesn't understand his own reflection. Once again, this makes for the 9th dismissal of a Chelsea player during this season, and you can add that up to 10 when you factor in former manager Enzo Maresca getting a red card for Chelsea this campaign too. It's the 6th time Chelsea have picked up a red card before the 86th minute of a game this season, and they haven't been able to win. So let's take a little look back down memory lane at some of the rest of them. Now, the first was a pretty high profile one. It came as Chelsea were defeated 2-1 by Manchester United towards the start of the season, right? This is a while ago, okay? I need you to cast your minds back. Ruben Amorim still had Kobbie Mainoo locked in his sex dungeon. Enzo Maresca was still going hair follicle for hair follicle with Pep Guardiola, and Chelsea fans were hopeful after winning the Community Shield World Edition. But they would be less hopeful when they realised that Robert Sanchez was still their goalkeeper, as he was indecisive with a ball played over the top. It led to him clattering into Brian Mbeumo as the last man, and he was given his marching orders after just 5 minutes of the game. United would also go down to 10 men in this game, but they'd already accumulated a 2-goal lead by this stage, and so they ended up winning 2-1. Kind of killed Chelsea's hopes of winning the game. Now, the next week comes along, and they face Chelsea B team. It's Brighton versus Chelsea. Trevor Chalobah, probably not trusting his goalkeeper behind him, also gets sent off for a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. And things would go from bad to worse for Chelsea in the Champions League when João Pedro was then given his marching orders just 3 days later against Benfica. They won the game, didn't end up mattering, but it was still kind of crazy given the context. Then Chelsea picked up a really good result against Liverpool. A last-minute winner from Esteval tapping in at Stamford Bridge sent the whole gaff into raptures, including Enzo Maresca, who decided to charge down the touchline and celebrate with his players. He was given a red card for this, and to me, this is woke nonsense, so I'm not even really going to cover it that much, but it's just kind of crazy that it happened. Into October now. We're still not that far into the season, lads. Halloween hasn't even happened yet. Your girlfriend doesn't know what bra she's going to wear out in public on a night out yet. This is serious early doors in the season when Malo Gusto misjudges one against Nottingham Forest, and as Ange Postecoglou was devoured by Evangelos Marinakis, yet another Chelsea player found themselves having an early shower. Now we exit the Premier League and head to the Carabao Cup. Chelsea face off against Wolves, 4-3, 7-goal thriller. Liam Delap wouldn't see the end of it though. His physical and that's about it. Self saw him getting a red card after an elbow-first aerial challenge against Emmanuel Agbadou. Enzo Maresca branding it as embarrassing at full time. Back to Arsenal. Moises Caicedo clatters into Mikel Merino. Too high. Straight red card. Nothing really more to say about this, except he tried to pretend he was injured, and I kind of respect that. January 7th, turn of the new year, but it's the same Chelsea. Marc Cucurella this time getting a straight red card for denial of a goal-scoring opportunity against Fulham. Once again, poor defensively and a mix-up with a long ball over the top causing them massive issues. Into February and Chelsea would blow a 1-goal lead against newly promoted Burnley when Wesley Fofana stamped through on James Ward-Prowse for a second yellow card. And the very next game we had Pedro Neto. If you put an IQ test in front of Pedro Neto, he would come back negative. Cole Palmer has got competition in this squad, I swear down, because both of them are just sat next to each other watching a set of marbles roll down the staircase. No thoughts in their brains at all. No synapses fusing together. The first yellow card was just stupid. It was after Arsenal took the lead from a corner. Robert Sanchez was complaining about being fouled. Pedro Neto was then complaining to the referee, and he got a yellow card for dissent, okay? He then literally sees Gabriel Martinelli pick up the ball down the left-hand side, and it's a dangerous attack to an extent, right? You know, it's like a 3v3, I think, or something. You know, something needs to be done. Neto just can't allow him to go past him, but also he's literally hugging the touchline, okay? So he's very, very wide. This is also Gabriel Martinelli, we need to understand. Gabriel has been a lot better, I think, really, in like the last 6 months, but he's still a very frustrating player with sometimes a lack of end product. On my life, you could just show him to the touchline. It's not that difficult, like, genuinely. Especially when you yourself are Pedro Neto, you're a very quick player, right? You don't have the defensive nous, you might not have the positioning or the tackling. Crucially, we're gonna come to that capabilities, so just match him bar for bar, word for word. He couldn't do that. He lunged in and just clattered him and got a second yellow card. His final brain cell doesn't know what to do when it's time to make a competent decision. Pedro Netanyahu, fam. Genuinely, a markable player. Stoppable on his day. He does truly believable things on the ball. Like, Alejandro Garnacho was probably, like, baffed having Chelsea fans asking him to come on the pitch at some point soon instead of Pedro Neto playing. This is bottom of the barrel. I can't believe Chelsea have spent all the money they have, and when it all comes down to it, Pedro Neto is one of their better wingers. Gary Neville was saying that this guy reminds him of Eden Hazard. Roberto Martinez had to shut that down, like, uber quickly. And Roberto Martinez has managed both of them as well. I know Eden couldn't believe what he was hearing when he heard his name in the mix with Pedro Lombo San Sebastian Henrique Neto. Put his brain in a cat, it would moo. I swear down on my life, fam. And I'm not even just trying to get at Pedro Neto the whole time, yeah, because there's other Chelsea players that we need to have a word about. And Pedro Neto has good spells. He has inconsistencies, which I think spread into a lot of the rest of the team too. Chelsea players refusing to go 27 minutes of association football without just completely obliterating their chances of winning a game. Bro, I knew this was coming. Liam Rosigne didn't know what to do down on the touchline. His highlights for the month of March are not looking good so far. I know it's an early sample size. Whoa. I don't know what's going into them, fam. I don't know why they're so aggressive, bro. I know you've got Liam Delap in the team, and that is truly all he knows how to do. But it's really, really not necessary. He's baby Costa, allegedly, but he forgot to install all the actual footballing ability, and he just kept the violence. 2 goals in 26 matches, I believe. hyperbole for Liam Delap. But yet Matej Kezman, who's seen often as like one of the biggest Chelsea number 9 flops or striker flops of the Abramovich era, got 4 in his first 26. But he isn't helped by the rest of the team being so aggressive as well. I mean, if we look at the statistics, right, you know, their sheer amount of red cards they picked up so far this season, we're getting into record-breaking territory. If you look at the other teams that are around, these are big, beefy football clubs, bro, that should be getting red cards regularly, like a Sunderland or a Blackburn. These are northern towns where direct aggression happens on the streets. You go to Tesco in Sunderland, you will encounter 4 fights. It will happen. That sort of thing spreads into the football. That's just a cultural demographic. Chelsea is not a violent area, bro. Violently expensive, sure, but you're not fighting for your life when you go to pick up the local newspaper. 80% of these clubs have had Lee Catamol play for them, so I know what territory we're in. Chelsea should not be here, realistically, but why exactly are they? Because at this point, death, taxes, and a lot of taxes as well, given their financial report for the year, and a Chelsea red card. You know what's coming in life. It's practically written in the stars at the moment that Chelsea are going to end up finishing a game down to 10 men. It was getting to a point during games where it felt like they were actively playing better down to 10 men. I'm talking like the Arsenal game, for example, in the league earlier on in the season. You know, when they kind of fraudulently convinced us they were actually going to be good this season. Me included. I watched them play against Arsenal. They ended up drawing, but they went down to 10 men really early and outplayed Arsenal whilst down a man. Reece James was quoted recently as saying the Premier League is the hardest league in the world already, right? 11v11, you're gonna get a tough game. You don't need to make things harder for yourselves. 11v11 is hard, 10v11 you're starting to get impossible. They took it to the best team in the league at that point, and now when you look at the table doesn't lie. They took it to Arsenal. Arsenal were a little bit scared at times, and they probably could have gone out and chased the game and made things happen a little bit more. But Chelsea honestly could have taken all 3 points despite being down a man, despite Moises Caicedo's red card. And Moises Caicedo's been dubbed as overly aggressive, especially by Arsenal fans. He got into a little bit of a scrap with Piero Hincapié as well during this game, this reverse fixture 2 in the Prem. And look, yes, you know, Moises Caicedo is aggressive, all right? Liam Delap is aggressive. Alejandro Garnacho is aggressive. Lee shit. But a real concern for Chelsea fans, and I'm sure they know this already, but for Chelsea as a whole, and what we should really look at in this whole situation is the fact that these aren't just a couple of serial offenders. This is a wide plethora of their players getting involved in this foolishness. The red cards have actually been spread relatively evenly. I mean, if we look at the 10 red cards from the season, okay, we got Robert Sanchez. That doesn't mean he's aggressive. He's just fucked something up, you know, coming out for a ball and missing it, right? That's their goalkeeper. Then Trevor Chalobah, cool, second player. Joao Pedro, third. We've got Malo Gusto, another new player. Liam Delap, Moises Caicedo, Marc Cucurella, Wesley Fofana, Pedro Neto. We can almost make an entire starting 11 out of these lot. It's actually pretty positionally widespread. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of different Donnies. Now, Liam Rosignol appeared to have steadied the ship. He had a decent start. He got 6 games unbeaten to start his reign at Chelsea, but then 2 red cards in the space of 2 games back to back worries Chelsea fans again. And it's stupidity. It's foolish, avoidable red cards. There are people suggesting that they may need anger management classes, or in the form of Cole Palmer, just general classes. There's been a wide array of red cards, as I said, in terms of like the offenders, the people that are actually getting sent off, but also the way in which they're happening. I mean, they're individual errors for the most part, bad decision making, which I guess all red cards are. You can't get red carded and not make a mistake. I suppose that doesn't really make sense. But if you look at a lot of them, they're either really poor errors, like Robert Sanchez, which was caused by indecision against Manchester United, backpedaling a little bit, then going, okay, right, actually, fuck it, I'm going to go out and fouls Brian and Burmo. But there's a lot of them here that are just outright avoidable. It's something like a Caicedo, which is just a challenge that's a bit too high, happens a lot. Caicedo plays on the edge sometimes. He's one of those types of players that can just get things wrong very, very infrequently in comparison to when he gets things right. But that's a challenge that happens. Every team gets has a player sent off during a season at least a couple of times for a challenge that's just a bit too high. It's misjudged, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking even necessarily about Marc Cucurella, in his last match man challenge, right? It's poor defensively as a unit, but it happens once a season, usually, even for some of the bigger teams. I'm talking about Liam Delap, when Chelsea are 3-0 up, going and elbowing a player for Wolves randomly and getting himself sent off. I'm talking about Pedro Neto getting a first yellow card for dissent and then getting a second yellow card for a stupid challenge on Martinelli 2 minutes later. I'm talking about Joao Pedro in the Champions League. Again, just randomly flailing an arm when he absolutely doesn't need to. I genuinely think half of these red cards with like any level of intelligence or experience for the player involved just doesn't happen. And we're going to talk about the first reason as to why this is happening, and I'm sure it's the obvious one that you've probably already guessed, and it's a lack of experience. I'm not even just talking about age, but we'll start with age as well. You know, often this Chelsea team are bringing out an average age of like 23 or 24. You look at youngsters like Esteval, like an Andre Santos, Cole Palmer is still young, Sarr, who played against Arsenal at the back that they recalled from Strasbourg. There's a lot of young players, Jarell Harto, Achimpong, who's been getting a lot of football recently. Joao Pedro is still young. Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez aren't exactly old. These are a lot of young players who are just young and full of youthful exuberance and want to get themselves around busybodies like Delap, like Joao Pedro, want to just get physical and get in people's faces, but also don't have the experience to know when to do that all the time and will just leave a foot in and do something stupid because they're young. But also these are players that are relatively inexperienced, I think, as well when it comes to big games. You know, these aren't players who have played in Champions League finals. The Club World Cup, cool, whatever, bro. I just kind of don't care. I know they were against big teams. I know they're still finals, but it isn't the same. It just isn't, you know, it's just not the same. It's not a Champions League final. It's not a Euros final. It's not a World Cup final. There are a few players in there, Enzo Fernandez, for example, with Argentina. Cole Palmer played in the Euros final for England. There's a little bit, but not much. So ultimately, you're going to get inconsistency amongst players. You know, you're going to get a group of 23-year-olds are going to put in far more inconsistent performances. They're going to get a 9 out of 10 one week and a 4 out of 10 the next week. That's more likely than a group that has a set amount of leaders or 4 players that are in their 30s. So that is obvious, and that's going to lead to more red cards as well, as I've already mentioned. And ultimately, what that, in my opinion as well, that is, and I've said this many a time when it comes to Chelsea, is a fundamental failing in squad building. I think Chelsea, well, no, I don't think Chelsea. Chelsea are run as like a Pokemon trading club. Like, they sign young players with the thought of them being a project or to be able to be traded for a higher price further down the line. You look at Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, United. These aren't teams right now that are buying players for the first team that they're hoping will be good in 4 years or amazing in 4 years, and if they're good now, it's a bonus. They aren't teams that are buying players with almost the sole ambition, really, of them being flipped for like 6 times the price further down the line. Chelsea don't build a squad, they build a portfolio, and a lot of the players that they're signing, whilst are good, like, let's say Cole Palmer, Esteval, for example, as like a 2. You got Caicedo and Fernandez in there as well, right? But you've like, let's just focus on like an Esteval. Amazing raw talent. Is potentially going to be one of the best players in the world in like 5 years. That's a success story. But then you look at like a Renato Vega, who they clearly just bought to flip him on a little bit further down the line, and that's what they did. But when you have this influx of players that are just circling around a team, and you're buying 50 players in the space of like 3 years, you're clearly not buying a team to, or buying players to build a squad. A squad isn't just the overall ability that you have. It's not just collecting players, like 30 players and going, they're all good, they're all young, they're gonna be amazing now. Like, you have to actually have some balance. There's no Thiago Silva in this Chelsea squad. There's no Cesar Azpilicueta in this Chelsea team. Reece James is experienced enough, but he's not gonna, it's like having a childminder, but you got 27 kids and they're all on report. Like, they're all failing their GCSEs if they don't get their shit together. Reece James is not gonna be enough on his own to be able to calm all these Donnies. He could probably get 4 of them into A-levels, maybe. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be pretty difficult. Like, they've built a squad there of young talent that doesn't actually have the capability to win things regularly because they don't have any level of experience. They don't have serial winners in the changing rooms. And that doesn't even have to just be age. You look at Arsenal's squad. There's leaders in Arsenal's team like Gabriel and Saliba at the back, like Declan Rice in midfield. Dons that are just in the squad setup that have some level of leadership capabilities, like Norgard, who they bought from Brentford, who was Brentford's captain captain. You don't have to just be a captain out on the pitch, but someone that's just a big character in the dressing room to be able to knock some heads into shape, keep the younger guys in check. When Liverpool was so good, we were in the Champions League, and we had the likes of Jordan Henderson and James Milner and Virgil van Dijk. We had leaders all over to gaff. Manchester City have always had that, always had a couple of characters under Pep Guardiola that could fit into that category. Chelsea just don't have one. So they're always gonna be inconsistent. I don't understand how that wasn't identified as a problem when looking at their team. No, actually, I do understand, because the squad's being built by people that don't fucking know anything about football. But the second thing, and Chelsea fans might not like this one, or might like this one, it depends on how they feel about Chelsea players. I don't think it can all be attributed to a lack of experience or, lack of age. You've got players who have been doing stupid shit recently, like Pedro Neto and Wesley Fofana, who, whilst not being crazily old, are definitely on the upper scale in terms of experience in this squad, either internationally or domestically, continentally, or just generally the amount of appearances they've made in professional football. There's also just an argument to say the players just aren't really good enough. Like, when you look at the amount of money that's been spent by Chelsea over the course of the last 3 years, I know 2 billion is what gets thrown around, and it's obviously true, right? They've also made a lot of money on player sales too. But for example, right, I think they've made the worst pre-tax loss of any club in Premier League history this year. To do what? To be sixth. It's not getting them anywhere. They genuinely might not even finish in the Champions League places this season, because they've just traded Donnies for no reason. I still don't understand why they ever bought Alejandro Garnacho. The guy was in the Manchester United bomb squad who was sat 15th in the league. They buy players for the sake of buying players, and the squad doesn't really get massively better. Liam Delap has been poor. Tosin is not a good centre-back. Trevor Chalobah isn't a Champions League quality centre-back. Their wingers are poor for where they are in the league. They have a set of wingers that would probably get you 11th in the league if it was just based on that alone. The actual fundamental squad building of this team is the reason why Chelsea are so chaotic right now. And it's been a theme under Maurizio Pochettino, under Graham Potter, under Frank Lampard, under Enzo Maresca, and now under Liam Rosenior as well. I think Liam Rosenior is a really good manager. I think he has the capabilities to be a really, really good man manager with some astute tactical shit in there as well. But he's gonna get thrown under the bus at Chelsea again if they don't actually invest in a couple of players that can steady the ship when things get difficult. Because right now, if a player gets sent off, or if things start going a little bit haywire in a game, no one can look around and get some reassurance. No one can look around and look at a Champions League winner who's been doing this shit for 10 years. You can't look around and see a player who's 35 and just will give you that reassurance that it's not going to be as chaotic as you worried that it is going to be. That is why they've lost 19 points or some shit from winning positions this season. They don't have the experience and just worldwide, I don't know how to get to the end of a game without something going disastrously wrong. So, again, I'm sure Chelsea fans, I'd love to know what you think about what I've said and about the situation. I don't think Chelsea are bad. I think they could easily finish in the Champions League spots if they get their shit together. But the problem is they're just going to be this chaos ball group of individuals till the end of the season. And until someone higher up, one of their owners, one of the people on the board that are responsible for all this crazy spending, unless one of them knuckles down and goes, hold on, let's not buy 3 players that are 19 because they could make us money in the future. Let's buy 3 players that are 30 that could actually get these lot playing well together as a cohesive unit. As I said, Chelsea fans, let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and everybody else, let me know what you think as well. Where are Chelsea gonna finish this season? That is gonna be it though from me. Make sure if you enjoyed this video, slap the like button. Let's aim for 6,000 likes once more. And if you did enjoy and you are new, feel free to hit the subscribe button. It does really, really help me out. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.